Hi, it's Candice, your Korean sewing guide. Today I'm going to help you learn how to sew one of the many kinds of hanbok collars. This is the straight collar called the jingmyeonggit. Most of the time you will see it just go down straight and then go across. This is what we have so far. There are the front bodice pieces, the back bodice, and our raglan sleeves on the side. If you're confused about the orientation of your collar, number one, if I can say so, please mark the notches very clearly so you do not forget. But in the event that you actually did, just look at the long edges of the collar. Now, you're gonna have an edge that is relatively straight and one that is distinctively more curved. I have this piece that I drew up on. This straight edge that I marked out in red will be attached to your bodice. So this edge over here, the front edge of your bodice, from the facing all the way down to the front bodice, your sleeve, this is where the notch goes, the center of your sleeve over here, all the way to the back, to your sleeves, and then to the edge, to the very tip of your front bodice. That is where our collar is gonna go, just for illustration purposes. So when you close your hanbok this way, it would look something like this. Boom and boom. There. Now that looks like something. Alright, so we're gonna learn how to sew up this collar and attach it nicely to our bodice today. These are supposed to have been interfaced with an interfacing called silk interfacing. It's in Korean, it's called silk shimji. Shimji is interfacing and silk means exactly what it sounds like silk. This is what it looks like. It's very soft, very light. This is a very common interfacing used for woven fabric. The wrong side has my markings. The right side doesn't have a marking. We're gonna take this and iron it 1 cm up, which is the seam allowance. So we're gonna press that through here. So only the red bits that I have marked out, that is the edge that you're gonna fold in 1 cm, fold up 1 cm, and press it down. I have this ironed, very beautiful edges, all with my 1 cm sewing allowance. Now this is my outer piece. This is my inner lining piece. My inner piece. my inner piece. Okay, I'm gonna put the right sides together, stacked on top of each other. Because you have this sewing allowance already folded up, I would match it according to this corner and that edge. So that goes there. And then all the way to this end. Oopsies. To this end. All right. We're gonna pin this edge down and sew from here to here and all the way down to this edge, all the way down there. You all right? Let's go. This next part is not in the instructions, but I like to take my Western sewing techniques into my Korean sewing patterns. So I'm going to do a top stitch on the lining side with the seam allowance on the lining side. So this is the main that we have folded down initially. This is the lining. I'm going to have the lining side face up. And from here, the seam allowance will be pressed down towards the lining side. I'm going to iron it down, press it down, open it, top stitch on the lining side. We're gonna take a quick break and make sure that we are on track to getting our hanbok done. This is our bodice, and I have made a red marking on the seam allowance. That red marking matches up with our straighter edge compared to the curved edge. Now this straighter edge is where we have our shoulder notches. That goes lining in this way. Now, even if you don't have instructions, just understanding this intuitively will really help you with not just this piece, but any other garments you want to make in the future. After this whole thing is ironed flat, the amount of lining sticking out should be 1 cm. If it was cut right and nothing stretched out the whole time, then you're in luck. That should be like this, 1 cm. Now just make sure you go all around and make sure that this whole thing is 1 cm. If it's not, like if it's more than 1 cm, you can trim it down. If it's less than 1 cm, just keep a mental note when you're pinning it down to make sure that it ends up at the 1 cm point. We should have the lining on the inside and the main on the outside. So you just set it down. This is how it's supposed to be. Now to have it in this orientation, we're going to take the wrong side of your back bodice with the right side of your collar lining. This way, like so. Can you see that? I'm gonna open this up. Where's my pin? All right. Okie dokes. So this shoulder notch we have here is gonna match up with the center of my sleeve. I will start by pinning that on. It looks like there's too much seam allowance, right? It looks like it. I use my ring and last pinky. What do you call this? What do adults call this? I use my ring, my 4th and 5th finger to hold down my pins, and then my thumb presses up like that. Hold it down. Pin that. Isn't that how everyone else does it? There. So now, do I want another one? Yeah, let's do another one. All right. So we got that. The back is settled because we have our shoulder notches. Now, the front, let's do this very slowly, my friends. The front is where it gets a little bit confusing. This edge and this edge are supposed to look like this. If you can see that, there. That's how it's supposed to look like. So this short edge will match up with this short edge. Can you see that? That's how it's supposed to fit. It won't make sense like that. It goes like this. Since these are both finished edges, you would just flush them against each other this way. Just like that. Raw edges, finished edge, finished edge. Because we're sewing a corner, we want it to be very pointy and accurate so it looks good, even on the wrong side. Okay, I'm gonna mark out 1 cm from the edge on this side. Yeah, and then 1 cm from the other edge on that side. Now these are not in the instructions, but I promise you it's gonna be way easier if you do this. Now this X that marks the spot, this is the exact spot that you will be needing to pivot at. I'm gonna put the 2 finished edges together and pin that down. We're gonna sew from here down to the cross point. When that happens, lift up your presser foot. I would take my little snips and I will snip right here. Yeah, I'll snip right there, and that allows us to move our fabric and carry on with the rest until we get to the other side. It's important that we make a snip as close to the seam as possible, but not too close that it compromises the integrity of the seam. That's where we stop sewing it. I'm gonna flip that over so that it's parallel, not even parallel, just in line with our seam allowance from the front bodice. I'm gonna pin that and sew it all the way up to where I stop pinning at this second shoulder seam. Wow, I'll say that 5 times. What we have left is the front panel on the viewer's right. The order will be slightly different. Just now we started with the base of the collar, snipped at the X, and then pivoted this way. Now we're coming from this way. We're gonna mark the X here, stop there, snip it, and then finish off here. And then we're almost done, guys. Quick tip if you're struggling to match up your collar with the bodice, after you make an X on your collar, make the same X on your bodice by measuring out 1 cm from both edges, both of the raw edges, 1 cm there and 1 cm there. This point will be the exact same point as here. So you can just take your pin, poke it through there, poke it through there, and then poke that through here. And watch the magic as you pull the pin to the back and flush the raw edges together. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect placement. Once you're done, just flip the collar over and top stitch. You're good to go. All done. If you're following a Korean sewing pattern and some of the steps still feel a bit confusing, this video walks you through how to read them without actually knowing Korean. Or if you're just curious to know how a hanbok pattern book looks like in real life, check this one out.